Hello, so today we're going to be looking at comments. I've been posting this little AMA reply in all of my videos, saying that we're going to do an AMA video at the end of the week, and today is time. So I'm going to go through the replies to these AMA comments over the course of the last week's videos that we're going to go through each one of them, and I'm going to answer all the questions, TFT related or not. Just as a general rule, if there is a read more, I will be flipping a coin if I actually read more, just to make sure I can get through everything, because there might be a lot of comments. If you like my videos, make sure to like and subscribe. Usually I do TFT guides. This one's gonna be a more for fun video, of course. I just want to try something out. I used to do this with membership, so I'm gonna try it here, and it's mostly because a lot of people, I'm not responding to as many questions just because like that type of stuff, because I just don't have the time for it. So I wanted to do something that might be a little bit more fun, as well as answer anybody's pressing issues about the set or anything related. So let's go through this. So we're starting with the oldest one, which I did was the econ guide from 5 days ago. So first question: when is the yapping dog coming back? It is coming back soon. It's hopefully going to be back for next week's videos. My goal is to have it debuting on Monday's video. So I used to have a little yapping dog in the side of the corner, and it was mostly for like engagement. I thought it was really cute, and a lot of my subscriber base, like when I first started out making content, a large portion of that came from people really liking the dog. The only reason it's gone, for those that don't know, at the beginning of May, right when the set started, my computer blew up. Like I say blew up, but basically the motherboard fried in a thunderstorm. It wasn't even like a surge, because I have it on a surge protector. It was like a brownout. The motherboard just completely is dead, and it was a proprietary motherboard, so I had to completely replace my computer. A very stressful month for me, because I also have anime convention stuff to do for the end of the month. I'm going to be presenting at Anime North, so I have a lot of art that I'm working on. So like, you know, even right now, as I'm doing this video, let me just pull it up on OBS. I'm working on drawing this Monster Hunter picture, like in my ukiyo-e style that I'm trying to do. Like I'm mid-drawing and I'm just like, oh, you know, there's my alarm, time to do my TFT upload for the day. So you know what I mean? It's just hard for me to redraw it. I finally recovered the yapping dog from the old hard drive on that old PC. I recovered it like a day or two ago. So like, that's why it's just not there. It's just I don't have time to implement it and put it, like get it working on the new computer just yet, because I'm just really busy. Alright. Probably a TFT question. In what situations is it necessary to sacrifice potential interest for HP? How do you know when donkey rolling is the only option and to roll all of your gold in hopes of hitting a 3-star or capping out? I find the second question challenging in terms of deciding when to push levels or get 2-star legendaries when it looks like you're going 5th or 4th and you want to try and get a 2nd or whatever. Well, a lot of it just comes down to looking at your opponents. That's the main thing, right? Like here you're saying, is it a 5th or a 4th or is it a 2nd? And the real question is, are you looking for a bailout or are you looking to win? Both of them are valid strategies, but you just have to be okay with the option that you go for. So in what situation is it necessary to sacrifice potential interest for HP? A lot of times it's if your HP is low enough and it looks like everybody else is gonna have an HP lead on you, right? If you're the only person with low HP and everybody has win conditions or has good spots, so let's say like, you know, there's reroll players and you're like, you know, trying to make it out, then you want to sacrifice that interest for HP, because you know that you're not gonna live. You're gonna be dead before the game even gets to a point where you can actually manage to like get a placement. And that's just because like if you're like, you know, 30 HP and the whole lobby is like 60 HP and they're all reroll players, you know that you're not gonna cap out and it's gonna be really hard. And how do you know when donkey rolling is the only option? A lot of times you're donkey rolling if you have unit pairs. If you don't have unit pairs, it's often better just to interest, because the donkey rolling won't help. Or if you're really contested, donkey rolling can make sense. That's usually the rule of thumb. But like I said, it comes down to your lobbies, right? Scout out, and basically what you should always do is you should look around, you should scout everybody and just like assign a placement to them. Look at them and say, well, that guy looks like he's going 1st, that guy looks like he's going 2nd, that guy looks like he's going 3rd, and then say to yourself, what am I playing for? Look at your board and say, you know, I could get a 1st if I just high roll everything, but likely speaking, like if you're trying to assign a placement to yourself, say to yourself, I'm going 4th. And if you're going 4th, then it's like, okay, I shouldn't be trying to go for 2-star legendaries to get a 2nd, because if I identify everybody else's boards, the likelihood is that I'm going to be 4th anyways, so I don't want to take that risk. I'll just take my LP and get the fuck out of the game, right? That's like the general idea. It always comes down to like what other people are doing. And that's hard. That's not an easy answer to say, but it's like, that's why it's not like a specific guide that I make of like, here's where you should donkey roll and this is how you get maximum LP. Like there's no clickbait video I can make like that, because you just can't. It's like a lot of it comes down to just like you have to scout your opponent and figure out, like try and assign yourself a placement, judge the best you can, And as you get better at the game, you'll be better at judging that, and the better you can judge that, then you can answer the question yourself. But a lot of it takes like the skill of being able to tell what your opponents are doing. I'm gonna like these as I go through them because I'm here anyways. Comment in the wrong section. How much daily protein in grams would you recommend for a 6'5", 200-pound man in his late 30s, moderate exercise 3 times a week, who doesn't want to go for super bulk, for classic burn fat and build muscles, or at least maintain? Okay, this is something I actually know how to do. So, generally speaking, okay, let's get a little blackboard up. Generally speaking, it's 1 gram of protein per 1 kilogram. So you're 200 pounds. Which is like around, I think it's like 2.2 into kilogram. I don't operate on freedom units that well. I'm Canadian, you know what I mean? But it's like what? If you're 200 pounds, it's gonna be like around 100 grams of protein. Like if we round the number like kind of nicely, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. This is usually what's recommended if you're just like going for like a classic kind of like, you know, just have like a recommended daily amount. If you're trying to bulk, you said you're not super bulking, but if you're working out and you're trying to get like leaner and build like a lot of muscle, it can be like 1 gram of protein per 1 pound or 2 grams per kilogram approximately. So you can go like, you know, closer to like, you know, 200 grams of protein, but I wouldn't really exceed this much. Protein is kind of awkward, like depending on which sources you're getting it from, it could be a little bit weird. And also I don't know your full diet plan, like if you're like vegetarian or anything like that, so you know your source of your protein, like types of proteins, they're kind of made with these building blocks like amino acids and stuff. So like make sure that like you're getting a wide variety of protein sources, because sometimes you can overload on certain amino acids and then it kind of doesn't work, it doesn't like one-to-one match up like your protein to like building muscle, blah blah blah. But either way, the main thing that I would recommend is just like around 100 grams. Having too much protein could put some stress on some of your organs, and also if you take it from like a very similar source and you're just like stacking protein a lot, you can kind of develop like a tolerance or allergy to it, and it can make you have like, you know, problems a little bit like that. So don't overdo it too much. General advice. I used to do references. If you want to know, I used to work out on stream. I used to do workouts all the time. I was part of dragon boating, and I did a lot of exercise in my lifetime. Nowadays I have a lot of food problems myself. So, you know, always like, you know, don't worry too much about this stuff. That's why I always say just like round your numbers. Don't worry too much. Don't like count calories too much. Don't make it a chore. Because like, you know, like right now, for those who keep up with me, I've had health problems last year, and I basically can't eat like most food that exists. I can't have takeout. I'm intolerant to like mostly everything. So like I can only eat like very bland like chicken with rice every single night, and like some lettuce leaves with no seasoning, and that's like my diet right now, just to like, you know, be alive and stuff. So, you know, like don't stress out too much about these things, because like of course things can happen in the future, you know, if you stress yourself out too much. So, you know, be careful out there, but usually it's around 1 gram per pound. If you're trying to like skinny fat, also if you're trying to like burn fat and build muscle at the same time, having a large amount of carbohydrates also matters quite a bit. There are a couple of guides for this that I used to follow, but they're for those that watch the chat, or for those that like, you know, watch the channel, I don't want to spread these guides, but like in the past, like what was the one that I used to read? There was one that I read, and it had a lot of toxic masculinity stuff in it. Like it was very, very hard to read, but he had like a really good diet plan in it. So I think it was the Kino body workout. Do you guys remember? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The Kino body workout, the Greek god workout. The guy was a fucking nut. Holy shit, it was so cringe. So, you know, I don't recommend reading it, but like find a guide similar to that one. I don't know what it is. That was the one that was recommended to me, and then, you know, we all had to like look away from the fact that it was like so fucking cringe. So like I don't have a good reference for you to look up like to get like a proper meal plan. So like, I don't know, maybe start from there and find somebody who's less cringe and then support that guy instead. But yeah, good luck. You can do it. How do you determine your spot? Also favorite Pokemon. Your spot is dependent on everybody else. You determine your spot by looking at everybody else's spot. If you look at your spot, like if you look at your comp and you say I have good augments, good units, good items, that's always relative to somebody else, right? If you have, you know, brand items and you look at somebody else's spot and they look like they're playing Street Demon but they don't have any brand items, it's like, okay, my spot might be better than them because I have brand items here, right? It's usually respective to other people. I think that's how I would answer that. Favorite Pokemon? It depends how I'm feeling. Pokemon is something that's very fluid in my mind, because there's some, like, you know, like you ask me the same question a month from now and I love something else. I have a Fanfi statue on my desk. I love Totodile because I was a big Gen 2. person. I love Gen 4 and Gen 5, so a lot of the Gen 4 and Gen 5 Pokemon are my favorites. I would say probably Totodile or Ninetales. Ninetales was always one of my favorites. I have a little Ninetales plushie as well. I have a lot of Pokemon stuff in my room. The combo of your avatar and speech style makes it like feels like a perfect match. Oh boy, I hope that's not part of my speech style, is the stuttering. As an artist, how can you decide on your avatar's feature, color, expression, posture? Do you ever feel like you as a creator... Oh wait, it's a read more. Hold on. Tails never fails? Uh-oh, we're not reading the read more. I'll just read it anyways. That's mostly for fun. Okay, comment your avatar. As an artist, how do you decide on your avatar's features? A lot of times I just kind of go with it. I'm very like... I don't think I'm very good at art. I usually visualize something in my head, and then I kind of try and make it work out, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, I'm just furiously erasing until it looks like what I want it to look like in my head. So I don't have a good method for this in general. And then, do you feel like you as a creator with a growing audience have influence on the TFT balance and meta Warwick encounter? Absolutely not. This is bullshit. Don't ever think that I have influence on anything in the game. So I can talk about this a little bit, but TFT balance and meta, first of all, I don't have a big audience, right? My audience is very small, right? Soju, in 1 second of booting up his stream, has 10 times the amount of viewers that I'll have for like an entire month on this channel, like more or less, because it's like rotating viewers on Twitch. It's not as like YouTube has more inflated number, right? Like if you compare my YouTube channel to my Twitch size and you use that to talk about my influence, my Twitch channel gets on average 1 viewer compared to Soju. He's like 20 times more influential than me, right? It not even matters. Also, Riot doesn't ever give me anything in advance, so that's how you know that I'm worth shit to them. They don't care at all about me, because like my YouTube channel, every time at the start of a set, takes a huge nosedive on every regard. Like I always have to drudge it up from the trenches in order to bring it back to like a point where I'm actually getting viewers again. And that's usually because like every other content creator that you would probably know about gets early access to the set, and they just have like a huge leg up on making content over me. So it's, you know, but talking about Warwick Encounter in particular, it wasn't because I said something bad about Warwick Encounter, right? Warwick Encounter was dog shit. Anybody who says that it wasn't shit, like, it's fine. Okay, let me explain. From a balance point of view and like a gameplay mechanic point of view, it was dog shit. You can still enjoy it, right? You can still like it. I think that's where people get really vehemently, like, they lose themselves. It's like, you can like something that's bad. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or anything, right? You can find something fun and enjoyable. But if it's unhealthy for like a meta point of view from the game, it's not good for the game. And that's what I was complaining about. The main reason I was complaining about Warwick Encounter wasn't because like I personally had a vengeance against it and I needed it to get balanced out. Before I even started complaining about Warwick Encounter, the TFT devs, multiple devs, you can look it up yourselves, on air, like on a stream when they were doing the big tournament, said that it was not balanced and they had to fix it. The devs themselves acknowledged it. I was annoyed because it then, for the next 2 or 3 patches, went unchanged. I was like, if we identify that this was a mistake, and we all know that it's shit, and anybody who's like playing the game for more than like once a day, and playing it repeatedly, says something about it has to change, either the odds of it, or the way it works, or something like that, that's why I was so annoyed, because it's like, we all, like, the devs are smart, they all knew it was a problem. Even in the dev learnings, they talk about it being a problem. They knew it so far in advance, and I'm sitting there waiting. Every single patch notes, I'm just sitting there waiting for them to fix it. And as soon as they got rid of it, I ranked up a lot because it made the game so much better. It made it so much less RNG. And that's like a big part of it. And if you disagree with me, I don't care to talk about it. It's like last set stuff, so like whatever. But like, it was bad. And everybody knew it was bad. It wasn't because I had influence that I made Warwick Encounter get the odds decreased. It's because literally every single TFT dev, whenever you would watch a live tournament, they would be like, yep, that's Warwick's, you know, like, yep, you know, maybe the odds should be lower or something. Like, it was literally like everybody was like rolling their eyes at it. It was horrible. It was so bad. And then they finally fixed it up a little bit, and then it was okay. And that's all that I was asking for. So it's not my influence at all. It was just something that was bad. It just coincided that like I was bitching about it because it was annoying me because they weren't fixing it in time. And then Last, did you know you're cool, dude? I did not know. I'm actually not that cool, but thank you for thinking that. That makes me feel happy and cool. Should you agree for top 1 or play for top 4? Depends on your spot, depends on what other people are doing. Always, always, always. If you think that you can get a first, play for your first. If you are risking your LP for a first and when you don't have a spot for a first and you can easily convert that into a top 4, then just take the top 4 and get out. It's the same reason why sometimes you play a comp that isn't particularly strong. If you don't have a good spot and other people have win conditions, you can play for a 4th, get your 10 LP. Maybe you lose 10 LP because you go 5th, but at least you don't have to worry about like losing like 60 or 70. This is a concept that matters a lot more when you're climbing in higher ranks, especially because like if you're like, you know, for example, like when I was going from Masters to Grandmaster, I would lose like 80 LP for an 8th, right? Or 100 LP for an 8th. It really wasn't worth it for me to greed for a top 1 to gain 30 LP for a first when I would lose 80 for an 8th. It was better to just get 10 LP for a 4th because like I just cut out the risk, and that's where it matters a lot. But sometimes this is like a hard concept to talk about when you're not at that point, right? Like sometimes, like, you know, like especially when you're ranking up, like, you know, go for a first if you're at 1 LP, because at the worst you're only losing 1 LP, right? Because if you're 1 LP, you go 8th, you're at a breaker point, you're not going to lose that much. So it makes sense, like risk reward. But that it's usually depend on your spot. If you think you can get a first, go for it. If you're like hoping for a first, then lean towards the top 4, in my opinion. Have you played League of Legends? What do you think about it? I have not played League of Legends. I play a lot of Eternal Return. So that means that if any of my transferable skills go over with clicking in MOBA, well, not MOBA, that's more of, it's not actually a MOBA, but it has the same mechanics, it's like a clone. You know, it would be cool. Like, I just don't like the community. The same with like the TFT community, which is primarily the League community. I come from fighting games, and fighting games, I used to go to IRL things, right? Like I played Melee. There wasn't Melee online for most of my life. Like most of the time, like maybe now it's like half and half because I was a little bit later to the party. But like you used to have to just like go up to somebody, talk to them like a human, and play a game. And League of Legends is not like that. Even TFT, there's so many pieces of shit on the internet. Holy fuck, they're so annoying. And the community is just fostered with like what appears to be some of the worst people in the world. And some of them are really nice, some of them are great. But like that's why I just don't play League at all. Like I would love to play it. I love playing any game, but like I had the same problem with Valorant. I just stopped playing Valorant because like I would play the game and it would be like some teenager taking out their mental problems on me. And it's like, listen, I have my own problems. Like I literally am on a special diet because I can't eat food and I can't sustain myself as a human. Like what the fuck are we doing here? Like hello? Like she didn't answer your text, so you're taking it out on me? Like it's because of your personality. It's not because I missed the smoke. Well, I didn't even miss the smoke, actually. Well, you know what I mean. But anyways, what do I think about it? I do think it's a great game. I think it's really cool. I would like to play it more. But like I said, just the community makes it so awful. So I just never really want to play it. So I probably won't. I play it sometimes on stream as like a punishment. I played Tom Kench. I went nasty with it. I won my lane. Next questions. Do you feel like this set was an improvement over the last? Hell no, it's absolutely not. Usually with TFT, there's certain sets that are like key sets that are really important. The last set was like the big set being like the arcane set. So that's why it was like, there was a lot of effort that went into it. This set is kind of like, it feels almost like a gas leak set. I don't mean to be rude to anybody, but like there's a lot of reprints. The mechanic is not super like, you know, I guess it's creative. I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody, like especially people who worked on it, because I know it's really hard and stuff like that. You know, it's definitely like it feels like an in-between set. That's what I will say. I think the next set is going to be significantly good. It definitely feels like a step down in quality. Like even like the balancing, right? Last set, the first patch was bad, but they balanced it 3 times. It was an A patch, a B patch, and a C patch, right? That's what I mean. Remember last set? That's what I was talking about. The first patch of the game, I was like, this game, they're trying really hard to balance. They literally patched it A patch, B patch, C patch. This set, like, there wasn't a C patch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, there was a level of rigor that they had to make sure that it went smoothly, especially at the start of the set. What are your feelings on Mortog stepping down? I'm really sad about it. Right? I try my best. Like, you know, sometimes I insult the game, I insult the devs. Obviously, everybody does. It happens with every game. But I always stand up for it, right? I really like Mortdog. I really respect him. He always says stuff that's meaningful, and I feel like he agrees. Not he agrees with me. I agree with him on most of his design philosophies and everything that he says. And I think it's really great. And him being a vocal spokesperson, just taking a lot of shit from people is really annoying. even myself, like on stream, I purposely never say like I got Mort dogged, because I just feel like it's bad to like, you know, make him out to be like the reason for like my lack of success and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'm that far as like trying my best not to be like rude or disrespectful of anything that he does. Of course, sometimes I'll be like, you know, the devs suck or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of it's more like systematic that I hate about it. Like how like patches have to be locked in earlier, how it's tied to the League client, because like the success of TFT is like people losing in League of Legends and starting to play TFT because they don't want to play League, right? Like I hate like that aspects of the game, but that's not because of him. So I'm actually really sad about it. And I think that it's a big statement on like, you know, the community of TFT really has to like fucking get better. Like, well, holy shit, like, they're so shit. Like, I don't understand why everybody has to act like a moody teenager all the time. Like, this poor guy going through so much to try and help out everybody, and, like, everybody's just always dogpiling on him. It's like, you know what I mean? So it actually makes me really sad, because it's like, wow, I'm part of a community that just, like, treats everybody like shit all the time. It's like, it makes me feel like, what am I even doing here? Like, I don't want to be associated with these people. You know what I mean? And it's part of the reason why, like, this whole set has been really miserable as well. It's, you know, it's like, it is what it is. Excited for set revival? Low-key, I'm going to do a Riven stream. The Riven Whisperer will come back to ride another day. 8-bit cash outs? I'm going to fucking come. You know, I'm going to recreate the clip. My most popular clip, which is really fucking bad if I ever apply to a real job. What is your favorite set trait unit in TFT's history? Favorite set 9, favorite trait strategists. That's pretty easy. Set 9 strategist, my most enjoyed time playing TFT probably. Favorite unit ever is hard to say. I liked Gwen a lot in set 9. I like Gwen, not because of her being good in TFT, because I don't think she ever was. But the fact is, whenever you win a fight with Gwen, she does the pon-pon dance, but it looks like she's just saying to suck it. Like, she's just, like, gesturing to and thrusting her hips and gesturing to her crotch, and it looks like she's just, so I always love that about her, because every time you win, she's just, like, I don't know. I'm just gonna say Gwen for that reason, but I'm not really tied to, like, units or traits that much. I care more if I found the game fun. But probably, if I have to pick one that I think was, like, my thing, Edgelords, Rivens, and set 10. I think that's the first point where I, like, really understood the game at, like, a deep level that I felt like I can 100% outplay anybody in my lobby. Because I just spent so much time on it. I feel like the problem is knowing when and how far below 50 gold to go for digging for units. Usually you only drop to 30 gold. You can drop a little bit lower if you're unit paired. Everyone's always higher level than you. That means that that means that you usually are just like not managing your econ well. You're either rolling too much at wrong times, or you're just like plundering your money in a bad way. Are they just taking more econ augments? You have to answer that. Right? Look in your game. If everybody is taking an econ augment and you're not taking an econ augment, then you're going to fall behind, right? That's part of picking the augments in your early game. You want to make sure that you're matching the lobby, right? If your whole lobby is going high level and you're playing reroll, if you're the only reroller, you're going to have a really hard time. And everybody taking econ augments, just look. If you look around and there's like 6 people that are taking econ augment, you should probably take an econ augment to try and match their pace. Because if you don't, and you try and go like off the beaten road, then you're going to find yourself in a spot where everybody's going to be a higher level than you. And a lot of it comes from like stemming from that early game. So you have to like look at that. A lot of it's like, you know, check out the other people in your lobby. What's your favorite set and why? Set 9. I liked set 9 the most because I just really liked the units. I liked the way that the traits worked with each other. I feel like after set 9, they kept like making this set 9 to me felt like it was the most flexible. And it felt like at every point in the game I can play whatever I wanted to. And maybe that was just because I was bad at the game then. I wasn't as good. And I'm talking about set 9, not 9.5, by the way. But then after that, I felt like they made traits more narrow. They made verticals more strong. I felt like at set 9, so much of it was just like play around your units, make it to level 9, play around the 5 cost, slot them in. It was like, it felt like kind of like how set 13 was, right? But the reason I didn't like set 13 was because of the 6 cost. So like set 9... to me felt like a very similar cadence to set 13, and I felt like it was very beginner friendly. So I always look back on it as being like one of my favorite enjoyable experiences, and I'm still chasing that enjoyment. Better to hold pairs or meet gold? Depends. Holding pairs matters if you're trying to win streak, and also matters if those pairs are units that are going to make on your final board. If they're not going to make on your final board, you're not win streaking, then you probably want to just meet gold, just to make sure that you have the gold for later. You're pursuing a career in the opera in particular. How much time would you say is a minimum needed to maintain GM or challenger? So I've never been challenger, so I cannot speak to a challenger, but I have been GM multiple times, and I have maintained GM multiple times. It depends how good you are. Like, I don't know how to say it. If you've never hit GM or challenger, then obviously it's going to be like very hard. Maintaining GM isn't difficult if you're at a GM level, because it's similar to maintaining your rank in any other level, right? Like when I made it to GM, I was like 600 GM. I was top 500. I didn't have to play at all. The only reason I dropped out of GM was because I started playing set 14, right? And then I just lost because I lost my LP from the thing, right? From decay. But like when I was GM last set, I, like, you know, it didn't matter if I won a game or lost a game. I was always in that GM range, because as soon as I dropped close to like the lower point of GM where I was getting masters players in the lobby, I just smurfed on them, right? Like, so that's what I mean. It really depends on your skill level. If you're trying to like just get to GM, getting to GM, I think would take you, if you're repeatedly going to GM, it will take you around like 300 games, maybe, roughly speaking, if you're like a lower mid GM, like kind of how I was. If it's your first time going to GM, it might take you like around 600 games to get there. And same thing with Challenger, right? If you're trying first time Challenger, it might take you like 600 plus games. And if it's repeat Challenger, it might take you a little bit less than that. So once you're there, if you're like flickering, like if you're just trying to hit peak GM, it's gonna be really hard to maintain, because it just comes down to everybody else's LP, and you have to continue to play the game. You can't just elo sit, because like, you know, like you can't just sit with a high rank, because like other people will climb and surpass you, right? So for me at least, like if you're high enough LP, then you don't have to play that much, and that just comes down to how good you are at the game. So it's hard to say. I would say, like, you know, expect within a set to play like on average like 300 to 500 games, somewhere in that range, if you want to like end the game, end the set GM. And if that's the case, you know, do the math. 30 minutes per game, you're looking at like 200 to 300 hours, I would say. And judge that with how much time you have to spend on your other stuff. So, you know, up to you. But, you know, that's only if you really care about this stuff. The only reason I care is because I have a YouTube channel. Trust me, I don't think anybody should play this game for that many times, because, like, I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. What convention work for? Anime North this year. Just Anime North, because I'm not well enough to go traveling to do other stuff. So just Anime North. Next one. Next comments. Am I? Oh, this is a big read more. Alright, also note the videos. I know that I have 5 videos of comments to do. They will get shorter. I'm just trying to answer them as in-depth as possible to make this a good message to the community, or a good, like, answering to the community. I'm doing my due diligence. So please, you know, bear with me. Sorry if you talked about this in previous videos, but you talk about what items are best for your tempo slams. Early tempo slams items, this is like a concept that I don't think is super great if you're a beginner player. But I'll try and talk about it here a little bit. But I think I know what's going to say. It's going to be like, oh, you know, I heard this item is bad early and this item is better early, and should I make this? It's usually just very situational. Good idea of what comps I like and how to make flexible items. Heard that JG is not great early, since a multiplier value is less valuable. Yeah, something like Crown Guard with raw stats is good. I would argue Crown Guard isn't that good, because it's the same thing, right? Like, Crown Guard's okay, but with the augment it's good, right? Like, Crown Guard with Crown Guard augment is good because you're up an item, so it's like an early game really strong item. But just a Crown Guard on its own is not that great, because it scales off your HP as well, right? Like, there's augments that scale off your stats, kind of like how you were saying over here. I'm mostly unsure if I avoid making something like Gunblade or IE in stage 2, because they have multiplicative items too. Your Shojin is fine, since it provides your similar value early and late. Yeah, so here's the thing. Whenever you're thinking about items to make early game, like, I try and talk about it a little bit in my videos. I'll talk about it more in my item guides, but if you're curious, there is, like, you know, somewhere in one of these playlists, I have an item guide. I'm going to remake these, and they're going to be remade next week, and I'm going to condense them. Instead of it being a 4-part series, it's going to be like a 2-part series. Ideally, that's what I'm working on, just to make it a little bit more concise and a little bit more, like, heavy hitting on informative. But usually there's items that scale off stats really well. That's like what you're talking about. JG, there's items like, for example, Redemption. Redemption is a notorious item that you usually say is not super great early game because it heals maximum HP for your front line and multiple units and whatever. So like a lot of times making a Redemption as your first item, it feels kind of bad because it gets a lot of value late game, and it can also only work on certain units, right? Because you usually want to have high HP units, so it's better on like bruiser comps or reroll lines and stuff like that. What I would say is that you shouldn't really worry about this. The main reason when people talk about early game items and late game items is that, like, how do I phrase this? It's like if you're win streaking, it matters to just make whatever items you can. If you're lose streaking, you're trying to make items that make you not lose too much HP while also keeping open key components that are going to be used for late game, right? I make JG early a lot of the time, right? It's not that JG is necessarily good or bad. It's that if I have JG components and I know that I'm going to need a JG later as an item for my units later, I'm going to make the JG because that's what those components are going to be later. So I'll use it to make HP early. The only time that you have to debate like JG or Crown Guard or JG or this is if you're playing really flexibly, or if you're trying to win streak. Because like if I'm trying to win streak, I might make an item with that rod that's a little bit better than JG because it might help me to like win the round, as opposed to JG that won't be that much stronger whether or not I have it on the unit, because like the ult is going to be kind of like a wet noodle anyways because it won't scale up very well. But a lot of times the early game slams that I always recommend is items that you use or components that you use that keep the key components open for later, or they're items that you definitely are going to need later that you know that you're playing towards a line. So like I wouldn't necessarily get too caught up in like this item's good for this reason, right? It's like, you know, if you're making a Shojin early, it's like that makes sense. If you have Shojin components, you make Shojin. But if you're not playing a Shojin unit later, you don't want to make Shojin, right? So it's like, you know what I mean? It's more like an item prioritization and figuring out which ones work well with others. In general, utility items are really good early game. Stuff like anti-heal is really good early game. Things that just give you bulk, so extra frontline, are typically a lot better early game, just because the frontline that survives earliest is going to be the better one, right? Obviously you could pick items that have less of a multiplicative effect or less of a scaling effect, like things that just give you raw stats, right? Raw stats are going to be a lot better. It's why like Radiant Relics, or like, what is it, the one that gives you Radiant TG is really good early game, for example. Like Radiant TG is good early game because it just gives you so much base stats. It doesn't matter what the items are, you're usually going to win streak with it. Stuff like that is good, like if they give you raw base stats. But at the same time, don't just make items for the sake of your early game, because a lot of times that's how you grief your game. So just be careful. And then I'll just click to read more. TLDR, what provides highest value in the early stages? What I would say is usually utility items, usually tank items that scale up stats really well, and other items that scale up stats are pretty nice, like kind of how you placed, kind of how you talked about here. But what I would suggest is always make items that you know that you're going to need later, or that you're trying to play towards later, and don't get too fixated on this. This is usually a concept that is just kind of parroted because like really high level players kind of talk about this a lot, but like it really doesn't matter for like most games. I would say you should really just focus on like making items that make sense with your components while keeping up components that make sense, right? If you have a rod, a glove, and a chainmail, you know what I mean? I would make JG if you're playing around AP, right? I wouldn't make Steadfast, or I wouldn't make like Crown Guard, because like then what are you playing, right? With your rod or whatever. It depends what you're playing. But if you're playing something like you know, Aphelios or Zaya or something, then maybe you can make Crown Guard or something like that. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Hopefully it makes sense. I try my best to explain it, but it's hard to explain in like a condensed little form like this. Favorite Pokemon game? It switches all the time. For gameplay wise, like what I would like to play the most, Gen 5, right? Black and White, probably. My favorite like experience is probably Gen 2 games, like the Gen 2 remakes, just because you get to relive so much of your childhood, because it has Johto and Kanto and parts of Hoenn, and has like all the Pokemon in it and all the legendaries, and it's just so much fun to go through. So that's like Heart Gold, Soul Silver. And we're talking like in general, if you just balance everything out and just put a stamp on it and say what's the best game ever made, I like Diamond and Pearl. Those are like the first games that are like feels very complete. I love the Pokedex. I love that it's like super cozy. I used to like as a child just sit in Snow Point Village. I would sit on my couch on Christmas holidays with like a dimly lit lamp and just like vibe and just like walk around Snow Point Village and do nothing. and that would be like how I would spend my evening, because I just enjoyed it so much of just being like pretending I was in the game and stuff. So, you know, like I think about those times and it's like, you know, Gen 4. But hopefully that answers the question. It depends. I also love Pokemon XD. I have long stream history with it because I used to do like exercises. I used to do push-ups for every dead Pokemon in Pokemon XD, and a lot of my music, I think, has the best music, you know. So when do you play TFT? Since like 2 years now almost. It's gonna be 2 years in June. So yeah, set 9. How many games do you average per set? Depends on the set. Usually it's like around 300 and then I kind of give up. Last set I played around 600 because I really wanted to hit Challenger. But I just didn't have the time because there was too many patches that I just meandered my LP away. So like I played around 600 last set. I think I played 599 to make a statement that I didn't want to play 600 games. So I think it's actually exactly 599. But usually I'm averaging around 300 per set. Any tips on how to always play your strongest board? This one's a hard question to answer. Also, I've been not liking these. Let me go through them. Any tips how to always play your strongest board? It's hard to say. It's usually find an upgrade and then play around that upgrade. That's usually how you play the strongest board. A lot of times your strongest board comes down to having a really good knowledge of what units are broken. So for example, in the current patch early game, Alistar is the best 1-cost unit, bar none. Nidalee is also really strong, but sometimes it's really hard to like fit in the synergies that you can kind of scale or up nicely into later games. But Alistar and Nidalee are two of the most broken units right now, right? Hands down. So a lot of times it's building a board around that and understanding that they're really strong. So it's just that you have to have a good understanding, because like the units aren't balanced in such a way that you can just like really easily just like evaluate which one's stronger and which one's weaker. A lot of times it's like knowing which one's stronger, which one's weaker, which comes from trial and error. But a lot of times it's building around your units that are upgraded or building around units that can use your items really well. So that's typically what you do. And then a lot of it is also placement, right? A lot of people, when you're playing your strongest board, you kind of neglect positioning your units early on in the game. Positioning units can greatly affect fights early game, even more so than late game in some cases. And a lot of people just overlook those type of things. So like, you know, making sure that you're on the side that kills a unit first so that they don't get an ult off, right? Like lots of stuff like that can really help you if you're trying to play around that. If you can be level 8 at 3-7 or before wolves, should you? And what happens if you roll down on your level 8 board and you hit your 2 stars but lose out? Is that augments or very unlucky? It depends. It's very situational. So first of all, should you level 8 at 3-7 or earlier before wolves? If you're really rich, yes. If you're not breaking 50, yes, right? If you're breaking 50 to do this, I would recommend no. A big part of leveling to level 8 and rolling, if you're leveling early to level 8, it's because you're contested and you're trying to hit your units before the other people hit your units. If you are not contested, it's better to roll with other people. So you want to roll at the same time, even if you are richer than them. Unless you have like a huge HP deficit or something's going wrong in your game, you want to roll at the same time as everybody else, preferably later than everybody else. Because if they just buy all the other units and you can hit for free, it's easier for you, right? That's part of TFT, is that the pool size is shared. So if people are buying other units that you're not buying and you buy the other units, it's better for you to roll then than for you to roll all your gold, see a bunch of shit you don't want to buy, and then just be stuck at 0 gold. So that's part of a big reason. So leveling early, it really depends on what you're trying to do and your strategy and all of that. So it's hard to say, but usually you want to have at least 50 gold on a roll down because your odds are not going to be in your favor otherwise. If you roll down and you hit 2 stars and just lose out, is that augments or very unlucky? It could be both. You're usually not even expected on your level 8 board to hit your 2 stars, but a lot of times it could just be that other people are playing better comps than you, right? And then you have to identify that your comp won't be stable even if you hit your 2 stars. Like for example, if you're playing like Zeri MF, it's a very particular board, some people play it, but like, you know, if you're playing Zeri MF and there's like a bunch of reroll players and a bunch of brand players and they all hit their board as well, it's like you can hit your 2 stars, you'll still lose because your board's shit, right? So it's part of that. It could also be augments, right? If you have like, if you take like, you know, triple econ and you hit all your 2 stars, it doesn't matter because you don't have the power from the combat augments. You always have to balance out everything, right? If you're not getting damage in certain cases, then the 2 stars aren't enough, right? Then you need to have legendaries, right? If you're taking a lot of econ, you should be able to make it to level 9 pretty reliably and hit like everything and be like giga strong to make up for the fact that you don't have combat augments, right? And it could also just be that you're very unlucky, right? If you hit all 2 stars, and like I said, and somebody else hits all 2 stars and they have like a slightly better spot than you might just lose 1 or 2 more fights, and then you're in a bad spot all of a sudden, and you just lose the game, right? It can happen in any way, but it's hard for me to say without seeing the actual game, of course. Favorite flavor Mountain Dew, just regular. I've heard a lot about Baja Blast. I did not like that, but they're all good. It's just, you know, soda. I can't drink soda anymore anyways, so because of, you know, life. So you know, from what I remember, it was regular Mountain Dew. This is the opener guide. So in this video, I actually forgot to say the AMA thing. So I'm actually going to quickly go through all of these comments and just kind of go through it. So, begging for somebody to do a opener. Much love from the Netherlands. Okay, I read this comment before. Thank you very much. Much love, of course. Do you worry at all about burning out? I think your channel progress is awesome, especially because of how much you upload. I enjoy your set 13 videos, but I don't know. I feel like quality over quantity will be your friend in the long term. I hear a lot of people talk about this quality over quantity thing. This person doesn't seem like they're saying in a bad way, but I've had people actually like directly insult me multiple times across multiple videos, like the same person, so I just banned their ass. But how do I phrase it? It's not a matter of quality over quantity. My channel is always going to be lower quality content, being a daily TFT channel. It has to be a daily TFT channel, because as soon as I stop uploading videos, my channel will die. That's just how it is. That's how YouTube works. If you don't believe me, I can show you the stats of as soon as I post a video that is slightly not in terms of being exactly what the other videos are. Now, some of the videos are going to be higher quality than others because there's some that I work and have a little bit more production value. For example, the Orn Artifact guide and stuff like that, because I work on them for multiple weeks. But in general, this is how the channel has always been. Some videos are going to be high quality, some videos are going to be a little bit less, but in general, the quality is actually a lot higher than normally, because what I used to do is I would make like an Orn Artifact guide, and then for the next 3 or 4 days, I would just do VOD reviews, which are a lot easier to do. So, you know, I'm not like doing VOD reviews anymore, which is the easiest content for me to do. I'm not posting gameplay of me just like randomly just playing a game and doing no commentary on it like I used to do in the past, because those ones don't do as well, and I'm trying to make the content as good as possible. It's just part of being a content creator, right? You just have to do it, right? If you don't like the content, if you think the content has dipped in quality, a big reason why it feels that way is often because I'm talking about the same things, right? I've already made a guide on pretty much every topic in TFT, so a lot of it is going to be rehashed stuff, and it's going to be me re-repeating stuff and trying to do like a new twist on it, and it's going to be a little bit more experimental. So a lot of times, like, you know, for example, next week I'm going to do the item guides. You might look at them and say to yourself, I don't like these ones as much as the other ones, this channel's going to shit. And it's like, well, maybe, but like I have to do something a little bit different, and I have to recreate those guides, because if I don't, you know, the guides are now dead in the YouTube algorithm. They don't get any more views, because that's how TFT content is as well, right? TFT content is very like whatever one was just posted is the one that's going to get recommended. So for me that makes guides every single day, I have a lot of pressure to like make them informative as well as like upload them. So, you know, it just is what it is. That's me trying my best, right? And if you don't like it, you know, of course, just watch the other guide channel, right? I'm sure there's another daily TFT guide channel out there that you can watch. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what to do. Quality and quantity misrepresented. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that like a tier list Monday, the tier lists suck. I hate doing tier lists. Tier lists are bad content because they're bad for beginner players because they're absolute dog shit in trying to teach you how to play the game. And tier lists as well are bad for me because everybody who's bad at the game starts telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about, and it's so annoying. So I hate doing tier lists. But tier lists are when I absolutely have no ideas left. If I'm like sitting in my room like, what do I do for today's video? It's like, oh god, I don't have something prepared. It's like I have to do this, right? Because usually I have stuff prepared, right? But it's just really hard. Like I have a Google Calendar and I have like a notes, right? So I do my daily task and then I upload my videos and I do it all. I keep it very tight schedule. But yeah, I know. And also when I'm complaining about the stuff like with the quality and quantity, I know this guy means well, right? You can tell by the way this person wrote their comments. See, even here, misrepresenting your thought, that's fine, right? I might do like a weekly thing. I was thinking maybe if this video does well, I think it's going to be a shit show though, because there's so many comments to go through and I think we're already at like 40 minutes. So it's going to be a long video today. So like this video probably won't do too well, but like I'm going to try and find, like I want to make like something that's like, you know, like repeating content because I think that's more sustainable for the future. Right now the way I work on it is that each week I have one high production value video and then I have 1 to 2 comp guide videos in my schedules. So like for example last week was Orn Artifact and how to play Amp, That was last week's guide, and then it was like 2 like, you know, on the fly guides. So that was like the pivot guide and the opener guide, like this one, and then the other ones are like, you know, scheduled content that I have. So, you know, I'm trying my best, but I need to like maybe do it like something like regular to make it a little bit more entertaining. Hope to see a video coming out for a loose streak, hopefully soon. I talk about it a lot when I talk about the comps though. Love the Pokemon comparison, thank you. I also like all of these. Everybody's, oops, that's a dislike. I like everything. Everybody's wonderful. Everybody's wonderful. Thank you. You're welcome. One thing you're curious about is, for example, you have Senna, Gragas drop, and Mundo. It's a good board. But Gragas 1 in this setup is better than Alistar 2. It depends. Like right now, Alistar 2 is so broken that I would just play Alistar 2 over Gragas, right? Like probably, and keep the Mundo to get Slayer activated so your backline actually has some damage, right? Like that, but that's like particular. A lot of this comes down to particulars, right? Level 4 or 5, you can play for, well, that's just a 4 bruiser line. A lot of times it's just build into the units you have upgrades, right? If you give them more support, they will do more, and that's typically how your early game goes, right? So how would I gauge like a 3 cost unit trait is better than a 3-star 1 cost? It's like, well, it's not 3-star 1 cost, it's like 2-star 1 cost. Typically the upgraded unit's going to be better because their ult is going to be a little bit better, but it starts to get fuzzy when they're equivalent in gold. Usually if they're equivalent in gold, it comes down to just knowing the patch really well, right? So like right now, Alistar is really broken. If Alistar is not as broken, Gragas gives a lot of extra value because of Divinicorp. So like in this setup, I would say Alistar 2, but like in the future, it's probably going to be Gragas 1. You know, it's hard to say. So that's why it's really hard to make like a guide about it. I tried my best. I think here this is the opener guide. Yeah, so I gave some tips about it in here, and I made like a little mini tier list in the video. That was just me trying to like extend a bone and try and say like, hey, here's how you do it, right? But yeah, it's like 2-star. Yeah, that's fine, no worries. Thank you, you're welcome. Nice video, you're welcome. Love your content, happy seeing your growth. I love that you're here. Thank you for stopping by. TY, you're welcome. Before I start watching 30-minute video, is this video for beginners, like a couple of or for masters plus? Can you say beginners or advanced? So this is like an oxymoron to me, right? Sometimes the only time I say beginner guide, by the way, well, like if you're looking for my channel notation, the only time I say it's a beginner guide is when it's strictly geared towards what I would consider people who have played the game less than 10 times, right? Other than that, a guide is a guide, right? When I'm talking about openers, this is from my experience having reached Grandmaster multiple times, right? And having been a very like reliable Grandmaster player. Like I wasn't like I touched Grandmaster and I stopped playing. It's like I was Grandmaster 500, ranked 600 LP, right? Which, you know, maybe to you is shit. If it's shit to you, that's fine. I'm on any server as well, which I consider to be one of the harder servers as well. If you think I'm bad at the game, that's fine. I posted in the, it's the first line you can see in the description. It's, you can see it right now. It says Grandmaster, right? Take it, you know, whatever it is, it is. The guides are going to be the same. Like, I'm not telling you guys something that I wouldn't do. In a lot of the videos, I say, I would only do this in this situation. I'm saying exactly how I would. So technically, that's like a Grandmaster level or whatever, right? The way that you should look at the guide is like, there's no advanced guide. It's like, if you are struggling with openers, this gives you tips for openers, and these are as many tips as I can try and explain to the best of my ability as a Grandmaster player. That's just how it is. There's no difference of advice that I would give for some players versus others, and if there is, I say it in the video. I say, hey, if you're more beginner, or if you're not super comfortable with playing with thin margins or doing this, I'd recommend this. It's all encompassed in one. So I can't really like tell you that it's an advanced guide, because it's kind of like, you know, if you need a guide, you're not an advanced player if you need a guide in the first place, right? Like what kind of advanced guide could I give you to get from Grandmaster to like, or from Master to Grandmaster? A lot of the tips from Master to Grandmaster, for example, is just to be better at everything that you do. And a lot of it just comes from you playing and figuring out those things for yourself. Like I can't tell you like, hey, the secret to Grandmaster is these 3 quick trips or tips, and I'm gonna show it to you with this arrow. It's like, that's just bullshit, right? If you watch a video like that, it's always gonna be bullshit. I don't make bullshit on my channel. I try and make as good content as I can humanly to give you guys the best chances of getting whatever rank you want to get. There's a lot of comments here. Watch 10 minutes and this is advanced one. Okay, well, I guess it's advanced to you. Cool. How the fuck is this an advanced guide? Oh, great, we have fighters in the thing. Should I ban them? You guys decide in the comments of this video. Am I banning this? What is this shit? Oh my god. See, this is why I hate the fucking TFT community. You should make 10 and roll at fortune as beginners. Like, what the fuck is this? Who is this guy? I know he's fighting on my behalf, but like, why are we fighting in the comment section? It's a question. It's an AMA video. I'll just like the first one. I'll leave these guys alive. You think Bastion? I think you mean Bastion instead of Bruiser. Sure, whatever. Bring back Dogcat. It's coming back next week. First, cool. First, want to use a liar. As a fellow small content creator, I'm looking for opportunities to collab. Just dropped a Valo to do TFT content. Are you asking me to collab or not? If you're asking me to collab, sure, but like I only do guide content, right? A lot of times when people do content, like it's not like guide content, and then I'm kind of like out of water because it's like you know, I'm like, I can play a game with you, I guess, but like I'm not gonna troll the game, and if you start trolling, I'm probably just gonna leave. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but sure, I don't know, hit my DM, I guess. We'll see. Who knows? Okay, how to play AMP. Can you make a positioning guide with bulky buddies? I can't figure out if golems or dummies trigger it. You know what? You know how you do this? You never trust. This is tip. Ready? Tip for Riot Games. Never read a tooltip and assume that it works. 100%, if you want to rank up in TFT, and I'm not even saying it as a joke, never assume something works the way it does, because TFT is complex, and I'm not even slagging the devs. I'm not even saying the shit devs or whatever. Like, that's fine, right? They're great, they're good at their jobs. There are so many things that are like bugs to such a point that they just leave it in the game to become a feature, because it's just so complex, it's so difficult to change, and it changes the way that people like interact with the game and whatever, right? I don't know how this works, because some of them used to work. It used to not work with summons. It used to work with summons. You used to get better bulky with summons. Here's what you do. You take your units and just check if their HP works, right? I can't figure out if it works on golems or dummies. Right click your golem and then put your golem next to a unit. If it gains HP, that's it, right? Just right click it, put it next to a unit. I personally don't know. I check it all the time. I check it every single time because I literally don't know. And if you know, that's fine. But even if you know for a fact, I don't even know if it's changed, right? Like last set, Scion, it worked with it. And you could put him next to somebody. So you would always put like Garen, Scion, and a third person next to the Garen, because the bulky buddies would give the Scion the HP, but it wouldn't deactivate the bulky buddies of being 3 people in a row. You know what I mean? Does that work the same way with Nitro this set? Does it work with golems? Does it work with I don't know. Also, with Dead Artifact, should you open it before or after? I think, okay, open it before if you have a setup, right? So let's say you have a Fiddlesticks. If you have a Fiddlesticks, open the artifact instantly so that you know if you're going to take Bruiser Emblem and play towards Fiddlesticks, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you have a situation where the artifact is good with the unit that you're playing on, then open it before. If not, I would wait till augment and then try and pick something that's more generic that works with your units that you have. But if you have a unit that works with a particular Ornn artifact, you can rip it before and then see if you hit something that works with it to structure your augment. Ripping it before, however, in my opinion, is more degenerate, right? It just means that you're hard forcing something no matter what, instead of like looking at your augments and like properly analyzing your spot. But it's kind of hard to say, so I can't really like slag people either way. I'm definitely a pick after unless I have a certain situation that's really good. Like, I think opening it before is really good if I have like a Nefiri, for example, or a Fiddlesticks, because otherwise those units are pretty dog shit and useless on your board, so a lot of times you're selling them for econ, right? So like, if you don't have an artifact that works with them, you want to know that so you can sell them for econ and then just play towards something else. Maybe take a Mana Zane, play a brand game, or play something else. You know what I mean? Next question. When to reroll and how much when you're in a bad spot early, or should you? It really depends on how bad your spot is. A lot of it comes down to like if there's a lot of other people with high HP. If there's a lot of reroll players, you want to maybe consider rerolling, or if you want to reroll early before you get to your fast 8 board. Fast 8, like, I know people call it fast 8. I just call it level 8 because I hate saying fast 8, because then what is a 4-1? If 4-2 is fast 8, then what's 4-1? Faster 8? Like, people came up with this wording like last set, and now now everybody uses it, I just never, I don't like it. But whatever. Fast 8, 30 or 40 HP and don't hit. Fast 8 is always scary, right, as a playstyle. And it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of careful consideration. So this is possible. You could just not hit and GG and the game's over. If you're in a spot where you're really scared and there are a lot of rerollers, so you're not going to have the HP lead, then you definitely want to play towards reroll. Certain comps have conditions where they're good from behind or they're good from ahead. For example, like Vex is really stable with a 1-star Vex because Varus does so much damage in certain setups. So like that's a comp that you can play towards and you shouldn't really have a problem even if you are 30 or 40 HP. And a lot of times you lose streak into Vex. However, you know, playing 30, 40 HP and contesting 4-way Street Demon, yeah, you're boned. You know what I mean? Like if you don't hit, it's GG. Of course, you're fucked, right? Like there's no easy way to put it. So a lot of times it just comes down to analyze what other people have. Just think of your game plan and think about whether or not you can play around within the lobby. Do you think LeBlanc reroll and Morgana reroll are viable? No. Morgana maybe, LeBlanc maybe in certain spots. I would play LeBlanc reroll if you have Mana Zane and a Cypher opener, such that you can get a Cypher cash out on stage 3, win streak stage 3, hit Galio 3, LeBlanc 3, and still be able to make it to level 9. But in those conditions, I would say it's not super great. Morgana reroll, I think, is only good if you have both a Bruiser Emblem and a Blinding Jewel, which sounds so fucked up that I don't think you'll ever hit. So I don't want to recommend it to people because I think if you're like, you know, newer to the game, I don't want to be like on camera or like, you know, on mic telling you when you should play it. I would avoid both of these and play better options with said items, right? If I have a Mana Zane, I would much rather play like not LeBlanc reroll. Unless I obviously have a LeBlanc spot, I would rather play like, you know, Brand this patch. And Morgana, same thing, right? I tried it out actually, Bruiser Emblem Morgana, and it was bad. I tried Blinding Jewel Morgana, it felt bad. I would be very careful. This comp looks really strong when somebody has Exodia, but when you don't have Exodia, it is completely useless to play, and you are probably going to go 5th at best. So it's like, you know, I wouldn't recommend playing them this patch. Unless you have a really good spot, obviously. Like, if you have, like, Morgana 3 already, like, you know, let's say you have Worth the Wait Morgana, then yeah, okay, play Morgana reroll. Because it's not Morgana reroll, you just got a Morgana on your board. Can you play Econ in advanced way? Like, what high elo players look for? It's basically everything that I say in my videos, right? Sacrifice, unit pairs, like, I don't know. It's exactly what I say. I don't hold back anything. Everything that I think I say in my videos, sometimes I throw nerf balls when I know that it's like a concept that might like make people angry at me if I say it too loudly. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I'll be like, this item's like kinda okay, but I wouldn't recommend it. You know, like, instead of just saying it's dog shit, don't fucking use it. Like, you know, like that's the only thing I tone down in my videos, because I just don't want to, like, you know, like, God forbid I tell somebody that like a certain unit is bad and that's their main in League of Legends. I'm gonna get a fucking paragraph telling me that I'm an idiot and that I should deserve to like lose my YouTube channel for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth it, so then I just like throw it as nerf darts. But like, I don't know, everything that I talk about in my videos about econ, exact same things apply. I don't think there's an advanced thing. It's not like, you know, in low elo you should look for this one trick to win econ, and in high elo you should look for this one trick. It's like, no, it's like you look at your other players. You need to make certain econ intervals. Econ is always going to be good. It reduces your variance. If you're dying or if you're losing HP, roll for units, and it's very situational. It always depends down to other people. If other people have a lot of HP and you're the only one with low HP, you have to make a judgment call. Do I try and salvage my HP, or do I accept that I'm going 1st or 8th, right? It's always like that. It's the same thing, right? Do I sacrifice for unit pairs if it's a pair that's really important to my board? Yes. If I need to win streak, right? Like, let's say I sell unit pairs to make econ, I'm basically saying that I'm sacrificing my HP for econ. If there's somebody that's 10 Street Demon in the lobby, they have 2 they have 2 Street Demon emblems, of course I'm going to hold my unit pairs, because at that point it doesn't matter if I have good econ. I just need to live. I just need to have more HP than the guy beside me, so that when the Street Demon death guy comes knocking at the door, he kills the other guy and I get a 5th. You know what I mean? It's like stuff like that. It's just understanding your situation is what really matters. And I can't really like explain every situation, because that would be me doing VOD reviews, which I used to do on this channel, but nobody watches them, and it killed my channel for a while. So I stopped doing them because, like, you know, that's not what people come to my channel for. But if you want to really know that, it's watching streams and watching VOD reviews, right? And I'll probably do some more VOD reviews in the future, but that's where you would learn stuff like that, because then you could actually like talk about the nuances per stage. Gameplay, please. The reason I don't put gameplay is because in my stats, everybody skips it and it makes the videos perform worse. So even though some people really like gameplay, majority of the people don't like the gameplay, so I have to appease what works for YouTube because I'm a YouTuber. So it is what it is. I'll try and post more gameplay videos, but like, if you really like gameplay, you can stop by my streams. Like, you know, it is what it is. Sorry. But I'll try and interweave it. Every time I put gameplay in the videos, it does worse than when I don't put gameplay in the videos. It's a hard thing to do. I apologize. When you play at 4-cost comp, usually roll down at 0 at 4-2. Okay, sure. Sometimes earlier to hit a stable board. However, you're opting on missing 2-star upgrades. You are expected to miss 2-star upgrades when you roll on level 8. You should never think that you are going to hit upgraded 2 stars. That's a high roll, right? Which leaves your board weak. And the reason your board is weak is either you're playing weaker 4-cost comps, which just comes down to knowing the meta, or people are playing rerolls and they spiked earlier than you, so you need the HP lead or you need some sort of HP in order to give yourself room to hit those things. As a result, you're rolling to 0 every round after you understand that not rolling on pairs of pitch is inefficient, but it feels risky to econ up when your board isn't stable. What's the correct approach? So if you're not unit paired, you're going to lose the round anyways. If you're not contested, if you're contested, you should just roll because you're going to not be able to find the units and you'll never stabilize. So a lot of times it's just like gathering copies of the units is really important. If you're not paired on anybody, you kind of just have to econ up and you just got to accept that you're playing with a very thin margin. Get down to 2 lives. If you're already 2 lives, try and live and just try your best. But usually it comes down from getting into that spot from earlier, right? Finding 1 copy of each of the units is usually going to be good enough to stabilize you. If it's not good enough to stabilize you, it means either your augments are bad, your econ is not super great, because if you're that, like if your augments aren't good to like stabilize you for combat, then that means that you probably took econ augments. And if you took econ augments, then you have to hit your 2 stars because that's the whole point of taking the econ augments. If you're not like in a spot for that, a lot of it's HP management, right? You should be able to lose a couple rounds. Like when I say stable, you're gonna lose a couple rounds. If you're like, you know, 0 HP, not enough econ to hit your 2 stars, and you're like, you know, not very strong with augments, it's like, well, what happened in this game, right? Like at one point in the game, it might have just been low roll, but at that point, you just know that the game's an 8th. Some games are just 8ths, right? But like you need to manage it ahead of time, right? If your lobby has a lot of rerolls and you know that you're not going to be strong unless you have your 2-star upgrades, then you're sacrificing your HP to get those 2-star upgrades. You're playing with a thin margin, and if you miss, you lose. If you want to play with less of a margin, then you have to roll earlier, maybe get like a little bit of an upgrade, have some unit pairs that you had from your mid game, maybe postpone when you roll down to 0. Maybe keep some extra gold on your initial roll down, right? Like if you hit 1 copy of everything and you're uncontested, so you can build a little bit more econ, so when you resend it, you're a little bit better. There's a lot of stuff to keep track of, but a lot of it comes down to you getting to that spot in the first place. So it's hard to say, but hopefully that helps a little bit. Up French toast. Based on my experiences, Golem, Dummy, Viego, Hologram all trigger bulky buddies. Okay, sure. Yeah, like I know Viego triggers it, but the thing is, Viego triggers it as a unit, but not like as a bug, right? So like I think, you know, just try it out. That's what I mean. Test out yourself. When going for reroll comp, how to manage bench on deciding who to keep and who to hold. For example, TF reroll, sometimes I get early MF, well before I have 3-star of the any champ. Do we pick her up or not? Yes, you pick her up, but you sell her when you don't have the other units. Also, I'm finding it hard to say TF3 and 3-star Darius on level 7. I'm finding that I'm always broke. So what you do is, if you're level 7, you're usually going for TF and Braum. If you're rolling on level 7, you're going for TF, Braum, and Draven, not Darius. So I'm assuming this is maybe Draven, but you're not going for Darius, but that's maybe part of the reason why. I also find that I'm broke and I just can't roll as much. Doesn't feel as nice when I'm rolling on level 6. So if you're really broke, then yes, you should roll on level 6 to stabilize earlier. The comp requires some nuance of understanding, do I have enough gold to roll on level 7 in order to hit my units and have enough time to hit them. The reason you're rolling on level 7 is you're going for TF3, Draven 3, and Braum 3. Braum 3 is a better tank, Draven 3 does a lot of damage, and with the TF, it can actually put it into a comp that you can play for first. So this is more of a play for first style of comp on level 7. Level 6, you go for TF3 and Darius 3. A lot of times the units that you're holding, you want to make sure you have at least 1 frontline unit and at least 1 backline unit. So you hold on to whoever you can, and you make sure you upgrade at least 1 frontline unit and 1 backline unit. Also, Nitro Amp reroll, cluttered bench, and not true to prioritize a hit first. I wouldn't even play Nitro Amp reroll with cluttered bench. I think that's a really bad idea. Because it's really hard to hit all in one go unless you high roll. Yeah, I don't know what this comment is, but I do not recommend that, so I can't really speak to it. With the Nitro units, a lot of times if you're playing Nitro Amp, you really want to hit Nidalee first a lot of the time, but usually it's Nefiri. Nefiri is going to be your main carry, and Nidalee is going to work really well. Cluttered bench could work if you're trying to hit like everything, but that's like really risky. Like this works, this is not like a first pick, you know what I mean? This isn't like a first pick tech, this is like a a second pick, because like what this means is that you're going for Nefiri 3 and then Yumi 3, and you're trying to leverage the extra gold that you have from Cluttered in order to like hit everything and then still make it to level 8. So you're just like kind of hoping for a high roll here, which feels really bad. But typically you're going for Nidalee 3, Nefiri 3, and Yumi 3. And the prioritization is that you want Nefiri 3 and Yumi 3 the most. If you're keeping Nitro in, like if you're playing Nitro specifically with Amp and you're not playing Yumi, then you need to hit the Nitro units early so that you make sure that you get the T-Hex. But I wouldn't recommend doing that at all. I would just go to Amp Strategist at this point, especially if you're Cluttered Bench. Because Cluttered Bench, you're not going to hit the Nitro units early enough because you're not going to be rolling on level 5 for very long. Or Artifact Guide comments. Okay. 4 comments. What is your favorite fruit? Pear. I think pear is my favorite. I like Bosque pears a lot. Pears are beautiful. My grandpa used to have a pear tree in his backyard. I'm also Italian. I think pears are a little bit of an Italian thing, maybe. Favorite unit and favorite 3-star 5 cost can be this set or any set. Okay, I'll do you one both. I'll talk about both sets, or I'll talk about all sets. Favorite unit, I said it was really hard. I made the joke about Gwen because she does the suck it gesture. Favorite 3-star 5 cost, I think out of all sets, it's a tie between set 10 Jin and set 11 Lysandra. Or sorry, set 11. Set 11 Lysandra was cool. I'm a big Lysandra fan. If I played League, I'd probably play Lysandra in addition to like the other units I played. I just like her style. She looks like the Queen of the Reich. You know the song by Queensrÿche? Queensrÿche? Their old song when they first got Jeff Tate, or what's his name? What's his name? That's not the guy. Jeff Tate is like the other guy, the jackass on the internet. What's the name of the I forget his name. The lead singer of Queensrÿche. There's a Queen of the Reich, and I love the design of Queen of the Reich. In the game that I'm making, that's gonna come out like eventually because I keep getting really far behind, so I keep postponing it by a month and a month and a month. It should have been out by now, but it's gonna be out in like fucking end of September. I don't know, but like I love that design, like the Angel Woman design. You know, like the like put the helmet on, covering the eyes and blocking out the sight and stuff. Oh my gosh, and I love the same look with Lysandra. Reminds you of like the Queen of the Reich opener. If you guys know what I'm talking about, look up Queensrÿche, Queen of the Reich. You'll know what I mean. But also, she did this thing which just she put everybody in a cooking pot and she just turned them all into items. It was so fucking cool. And then Jin in set 10, I got him one time with my 8-bit cash out, and he basically summons like all the violins in a circle and he just like shoots them all. It was really cool. This set, I don't know actually. We'll just answer it like that. I remember there used to be, things hearing about an old mechanic where the round you open Ornament levels change the odds you hit econ artifacts or not. Is this still a thing? I don't even know about this, and I don't think it's a thing anymore. Because if it was a thing, I think I would have heard about it by now, or it would have been repeated at one point. So I might be wrong, but I don't think it's a thing anymore. So I can't tell you 100%. Talk about balancing slamming tempo items for frontline or backline. I try to not let more than 4 components sit on my bench unless I know I'm lose streaking, but often I find my front lines really weak on stage 4 because I made a lot of utility items instead of tank items. Give me a quick list of items that are tanky enough versus frontline items. A lot of times your frontline is tanky enough if you have upgrades to your frontline, right? Having a frontline item on a 1-cost 1-star unit is just going to lose anyways, right? If you have an Alistar and you put a Sunfire on Alistar versus a Bramble on Alistar versus a Stoneplate on Alistar versus a Declaw on Alistar, it's like majority of the time it's going to come down to if the Alistar is a 1-star Alistar or a 2-star Alistar. Do you know what I mean? So like if you're win streaking, like, you know, slamming tempo items, this is another thing I was talking about before, right? Your item slams should just be stuff that doesn't grief your late game, right? If you're playing for pure tempo, you just have to make items, so just make whatever you can that makes sense. But a lot of it's just, you shouldn't really, even not like, I try not let more than 4 components sit on your bench. You shouldn't let more than 1 component sit on your bench. If you can, you should slam everything as long as it's meaningful that gives you options into late game, right? I don't know if this is this is the Orn Artifact guide. But I talk about in the pivot guide, right? You make items that work with multiple units, and then you just keep that in your back of your head so that you're constantly on top of things. That's what I would recommend more so. But a lot of times your frontline is going to be stable if you have frontline synergy and upgraded frontline. If you don't have upgraded frontline, you shouldn't be expecting to win streak on stage 2. You could play in between, but like that's like a big aspect of it. You can't just force a win streak if you don't high roll the units first. That's like a big thing, right? But typically Early game, like, you know, I talk about it a lot. Utility items are typically good early game. Like Sunfire is really good early game because it gives you some stats, but it also, the anti-heal is a large chunk of the other board's HP, like the extra burning that you're doing. So it actually works really well to like help you out. That's like the go-to, like everybody always talks about being good early game. There's other items that are good early game, like a Bramble Vest, but you're not going to be able to make a Bramble Vest because you're only going to get dropped one chainmail at most from your first stage creep round. And then if you're taking a chainmail off Carousel, then you're already in a bad spot because, like, you know, I wouldn't take chainmail to make Bramble Vest unless it's like a heavy AD lobby. So like that's really awkward. But that's what I mean. It's like a lot of times it just comes down to like make items that make sense for your late game. And that's going to be more impactful a lot of the time, because you could focus a lot on just like winning out stage 2 and being really strong stage 2, but that's like something that's very, very, like, it's very awkward to like recommend that to people, right? I always recommend just items that make sense, because you're going to have a much smoother mid game and late game if you're not just dealing with a bunch of random tempo items that you made just for the sake of them being strong, because you're just going to squander your HP lead anyways, right? Like having the HP lead, that's like very much playing for like a fourth, you know what I mean? You're just playing to like bleed out in the future. And I think that's not as good. I think it's a little bit better to just like make items that make sense and hold on to components that are key components for other units later, right? So for example, if you're playing a Philios, you want to hold on to bow, right? You don't just want to slam something like with a bow, like a red buff right away, because like, you know, unless you're win streaking and you have upgraded units, it's like it doesn't make sense, because then you're just cutting out your potential for Gwinsu and you're making like a very particular item, right? Like stuff like that. Or you wouldn't want to just slam like a Deathblade instantly, because if you're making a Deathblade instantly, it's like now you just killed both sword components, so you can't make like a Giant Slayer, you can't make a Gunblade, you can't make all these other things that work with other units. It's like, unless you're making the Deathblade because you're streaking early game and it's going to work on the unit that you're playing, it's like, you know, it's stuff like that. It's like there's items that are really strong on round stage 2 because they give a lot of stats, but if you're just like gonna run yourself into a hole, it's like I can't really recommend it in that well. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit. Last one, chat. Last one. Pivot guide. So this is the final AMA, so these are the final couple questions I'm going to go through. No, it's a heavy AP meta, so is it worth it to build Bramble Vest anymore? Early game Bramble is pretty good. It doesn't matter what the meta is. You know what I mean? Like this like I don't mean this as an insult, right? But TFT, like, maybe this is okay in League. I don't know how good it is in League, but you know in League how you can just like go and blitz and you can just like get what items you need to make and you just go with the build and you just blindly pick the items and build them in the order that they're in. And you know how like when you get better at League, you start to like look at your other lobby and you see, oh, they're mostly AP, or oh, they're mostly AD. I'll start by making a Bramble or a this early, or I'll make like, what is it, like Hollow Radiance or whatever it's called. Like, you know what I mean? Like if they're mostly AP or something, like, you know, you start caring about like what stats you're making first to make your game plan go a little bit earlier. TFT is like that, but it's a lot more apparent, right? Because it's like, I think that's like a skill set that happens a lot earlier in the game. So like, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a heavy AP meta. It's like, look at your lobby, right? Like if your lobby has a lot of AD units, right? Or a lot of auto attackers as well, right? Like Gwinsu holders, Bramble's going to be good in those lobbies, right? So it just depends on what the lobby's playing. Also, Bramble Vest, it's an item that works kind of okay early game because a lot of units auto attack a lot early game, right? You can think of it like everybody's like a drunken, like, oh, they're just trying to like slap each other at the start of the game. You know what I mean? So like they're not casting like strong ults or anything. So Bramble Vest gets a lot of value because they're all like, just like trying to hit each other as much as they can. So it helps out a lot early game because there is a lot of AD damage that units do. So, you know, it could be a good item slam. And a lot of times, like, there's not many other items you want to make if you have 2 chainmails. So a lot of times you're forced to just make Bramble Vest, right? Because what are you going to make? You're going to make, like, you know, maybe a Sunfire, maybe a Gargoyle. It's like, yeah, but then you need to kill the other components as well. And then if you need those other components for something else, depends on your lobby. That's what I would say, right? If there's AD in your lobby, count. If there's 4 AD players in your lobby, make Bramble. If there's not 4 AD players in your lobbies, don't make Bramble. How do you pump out a lot of these guides with the quality? I mean, I've gotten a lot of comments saying my quality is really bad. I had to ban so many people on this Orn Artifact guide that just told me that I'm shit at the game and that I should spend more time looking at stats because I don't know what I'm talking about. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But it's usually just like I devote time every day. That's the thing. I have like a little 3-hour block. Like I said before, right? I was midway through doing art right now. I have a little timer. It said, uh-oh, Spaghetti-O, it's 5 o'clock. It's time to like start working on your TFT video for the day. And then I work on it for a couple hours, do the editing, do the uploading, and then continue working on my other stuff. So yeah, you know, it's just plan your days as well as you can. What are some of your favorite memories associated with games and Pokemon in general? 100% Christmas break, just cuddling up on my couch in the middle of winter, just walking around Snow Point Village, right? Just walking around Snow Point Village in the middle of the night. I had like a little halogen lamp and I put it on super dim, and I just sat there and I just vibed out. And then after I got bored of vibing out, I popped in Fire Emblem Awakening and I played some Fire Emblem Awakening. God, I love Fire Emblem Awakening so much. Oh my god. Oh, that game's so fucking good. I would replay it 100 times. Every Christmas break, I replayed Awakening and Shadows of Valencia once Shadows of Valencia came out. Those 2 games and Pokemon Gen 4. Oh my gosh. I wish I was still a kid. It's so sad that time marches forward and we're all getting closer to death and all that. God, I wish I was still a kid. The pre-3DS Pokemon games and music, especially Gen 3 to 5, hold a special place in your heart. Make each real trip down memory lane. Yeah, my old playlist broke, so I'm just using nostalgic Pokemon music to speedrun your overdue work. Farm Life Gaming, these make great playlists. I actually subscribe to this channel and I just pick one of these videos and I just watch them. Questions about frontline utility items such as Ionic Spark, even Shroud, Sunfire Cape, or even Redemption. I know that Giga Tank items like Warmog, Stoneplate, and Thornmail have many benefits. I'm assuming this benefits Bifinesse. Maybe it's a word I don't know. So I also have taken sometimes tendency to put Giga Tank items on your main tank, then put utility items on a secondary tank. Yep, that's fine. Is putting utility tank items on a weaker unit good so you can put stronger tanks on your main tank, or is it troll because you risk the second tank dying? Depends on the second tank, right? A main thing is that you want to keep your utility alive as long as possible. So if there's a key utility that you need to have open, so for example, let's say somebody has boards with a lot of armor, right? Let's say they have like Giga Tank items, so even Shroud is really important to your team, right? Then you want to keep it alive as much as possible. That's why a lot of times Ionic Spark, even Shroud, Sunfire Cape, like these items, a lot of times you'll hear people say like, you know, Sunfire isn't as good late game. Like if we're talking about like early game versus late game, even Shroud isn't that great. It's a really shit item. Or even Ionic Spark, that one's kind of like, you know, people like it generally speaking. But a lot of times, like instead of even Shroud, you want to make a Last Whisper. Here you want to make a Morello or something like that, because they just stay alive longer, right? And that's like a key part, right? If you find that your utility items are dying a lot earlier, it can be almost as detrimental as like just having them on your main tank. So like with your main tank, what I always recommend is that you should think about your lobby, right? Like for example, anti-heal, right? Sunfire. This is really important, for example, if you're playing against like Slayers or like frontline melee comms or like units that actually have a lot of Omnivamp, right? So this is a really important item that gives you a decent amount of HP, right? It scales up your HP really nicely. So this would be an item if I'm playing into a lobby with like a lot of Slayers or heavy Omnivamp units, or like Gunblade, for example, like a Vex board. They're going to have a lot of healing. So the Omnivamp, so this is going to be, like the Omnivamp, the healing is going to matter. So Sunfire, I might put on my main tank. So I'll put 2 tank items and utility item. And then I'll use my second tank. I'll put 2 tank items, other utility item. You know what I mean? I'll pick the one that I think is most important for the lobby and put on my main tank if they're dying a lot. A lot of times, if you have a Giga Tank, it helps to also put your second tank like further back, right? So I will, if I have a utility tank and a main tank, I'll put my main tank in the front line. I'll put my utility tank in the second row so that they get aggroed second, so that they don't just die. I wouldn't just line them up in the front row so they just get like deleted. You know what I mean? That's like another little tip you can do, but usually just pay attention. If your units are dying, you should have removers because you get so many removers in the game. Just put them on the right units. Next, thanks for the content you make. You started watching in set 13, which is game changer. Helped you get emerald in 13, emerald again in set 14. Ooh, this is nice. I'm glad. Good job. Congratulations on the growth of your channel. Question, you notice that the tone of your recent videos is not as chill as in the early videos. Sometimes feel like you're hostile and indifferent towards your viewers. The level of toxicity in comments made increasing viewership gone bad. Okay, so yes and no. First of all, I think that's just how I talk. Sometimes, like even in set 13, there was videos that I talked in a very similar tone. Like this video in particular, this pivot guide, I think in general is pretty like positive tone. I think I just made like a wisecrack about getting a bunch of shit comments on the Orn Artifact guide. But I'm usually in generally the same spirit. I think sometimes I come across as being a little bit more upset than I actually am, because I'm kind of just trying to play it up a little bit with like a creative voice or stuff. But it is a little bit of hostility towards the viewers in certain cases, right? What happened is, it's very similar to like Mortdog Quit right now. when the game is not balanced very like perfectly. Like for example, we had the Zeri patch, which was bad or not that great, and now we have this patch where Brand is a little bit overpowered. Whenever you have patches like these where there's like one comp that's really good, all the shit players that don't know how to like properly play around the game get very upset, and they start taking out on all the content creators, right? Mortdog quit. He just said, I'm fucking done with this shit, and he's not posting like patch note videos anymore, right? Like, and I don't feel sorry for, I feel sorry for him, and I don't blame him, right? Like, what happens is it's not the size of your channel, it's usually how good the patch is. And then these people, what they do is they like, the worst is when there's also a bad league patch. There was one patch of TFT that was so miserable because the league patch was shit, and then the TFT patch was shit. So the people that play league would play league, lose their game, get upset, play TFT, lose their game, get upset, come to my channel and call me an idiot. And it's like, I don't understand why that's like a common workflow for people that are just like absolute fucking losers in life. I don't know, but like that's what happens a lot. So like I'm getting a lot of comments. Like if I look through like here, like I'm not gonna pull it up because like I banned them and I don't want like harassment. I don't want to spread hate ever, right? Like if I hate somebody or if I don't like them on my channel, I just ban them, right? And then they're just like in an ether of like commenting and nobody ever sees their comments. They're just like in a void space. That's how banning works on YouTube. But it's like there's people that like they show up and they're just upset because like I say something like, you know, I'll say something like, you should take this augment or this augment and do this and do this, and then they'll just come up and they'll be like, how could you even say that? Don't you know that Zeri's broken? Like, you're just so shit at the game, like you should just play Zeri and it's like, my bad. Like, I'm sorry that, like, who the fuck hurt you? Like, I didn't do it. But they for some reason they like take it out on the people that are vocal as if it's like my fault that the game is the way it is, even though I'm like I don't get it, you know what I mean? And it's like this thing, and I can tell that they don't even watch the videos. A lot of times they're just like pretending that they're cosplaying a good player, like they're pretending they know what's going on in the game, and they try and like explain to me, actually this is good for this reason that you didn't mention, and you should work on yourself. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like not only did I mention in my video, I explained why you're wrong. It's like, what are you talking about, right? But that's how it is, right? So it's mostly just the recent patches, right? And that's why a little bit, but I don't really care that much, I'll be honest. A lot of times I'm mostly just playing it up. Like if I'm making wisecracks in my videos, I think like I made the tier list and I was making like a big stink about Pandoras. Like, I don't give a shit. If you're in silver and you take Pandoras every single game, go ahead. You're never gonna make it into my lobby. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm in a lobby and somebody's taking Pandora's items, I'm like, okay, great, I know I can outscale that person. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Right? I don't care at all. But I'm just making it, like, trying to make content a little bit more entertaining, because the only thing I can really do is just, like, you know, change the inflection of my voice and be a little bit, like, you know, more interesting about it, right? Like, you know what I mean? So it's not like I hate anybody in particular. The only people I ban is if you're, like, flat out insulting me, or if the tone of your voice is, like, so annoying that I'm like, yeah, I genuinely don't want you around here anymore. So you'll know if you're banned, right? Because I'll literally type you a message. I'll say, please never return. I don't like you. And then I ban you, and you can't respond to me anymore, and I'll never see your responses again. You know what I mean? But like, that's just kind of how the flow is. That's just kind of how it is. The TFT community, like, you know, there's a lot of nice people. We looked at all these comments. There's so many beautiful, wonderful people that watch my videos, and I appreciate all of you. But there are a large amount of you guys that are absolute shitheads, and it makes the game a TFT. Like, I will quit TFT one day, and I will not miss it for those people. You know what I mean? Anyways. Thank you for all the useful, informative content. Apart from the content, one of the reasons you keep listening is your love for Pokemon. Of course, I love Pokemon so much. I wish Pokemon made good games still, but maybe people still like. Oh, let's do a Mystery Dungeon. I actually never play Mystery Dungeon. It's just these playlists, so the Mystery Dungeon music might actually go, or maybe I'll try and put it in just for you in the playlist when I remake it. And alt-tabbing, Coliseum. Yeah. Bundled question, fave Pokemon game. I answered this a little bit before, but it's like a tie. You know, I'd say the easy answer is Gen 4. If I'm talking about like which game I want to play the most, it's Gen 5. They're just like the best like games, I think, like, gameplay wise. And then like if we're looking for like content, it's like Gen 2 remakes. Are you gonna do the Pokemon fan-made auto chess to go? I tried it, but like I can't really afford to do it as a YouTube video, so I might just play on my own time. It's really good. Yeah, that's fine. But you know, it is what it is. It's like I can't really like, yeah, I'm okay to play other auto chess games. I played a lot of like super auto pets before I played TFT. I used to grind super auto pets, right? Like I was really like, I had a video on my old channel where I made a tier list of super auto pets. You know what I mean? Like I used to be really fucking good at that game. So like that's part of the reason why I was able to rank up so fast maybe in TFT, but you know what I mean. Do you have a least favorite TFT unit ever? And can you name your least favorite unit from last set? Okay, well last set, my least favorite unit was Warwick. Because like, fuck that shit. Unbalanced 6 cost pissed me the fuck off. It was so annoying. Last set was the set I started watching your videos, taking the game seriously. I'm glad. Now, least favorite TFT unit ever. It has to be one of those letdown units. Like Cassiopeia in set 11. Like, I don't know. Maybe not her. I can't think of somebody that I absolutely hated. Because I only hate units when they don't function. Right? Like, I don't hate a unit for being broken. I hate it when a unit, you put them on your board and they do fucking nothing. And it's like, why did I trust you? Why did I trust you? I got hoodwinked. You know what I mean? Maybe Cassiopeia. Oh my god, I lost so much Cassiopeia let me down so many times. Oh my god, Cassiopeia. It's hard to say. There's so many units. I'm trying to think a little bit. What was another shit unit? Oh my god, remember when Briar didn't kill that one unit? I got so angry. I can't remember though. Briar was cool. I don't know, maybe Cassiopeia. But anyways, that's the end of the video actually. So those are all the comments. I replied to all of them. I actually got a lot more than I thought I would. This video probably went on forever, so hopefully it was still informative. Hopefully it was still fun. Hopefully it was a little bit of a refreshing take, and it was like a little bit of like a different style of content. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to like and subscribe. This might be a one-off video. I might try and find another way to do it in the future, a little bit different. But happy commenting, happy fun, happy friends playing TFT. Have a great day, and see ya. Bye-bye.